Okay, what's so great about the greater ritual of the pentagram? Somebody yesterday or the day before left me a message that they were having trouble mastering their pentagram. And I wasn't sure whether or not he meant that he was having trouble physically drawing the pentagram in the air, or what. But just a few weeks ago, Constance and I did a little class over here at 418 Lodge OTO about the pentagram, and I had a handout that looks something like this. Okay, it's the greater ritual of the pentagram, and then we see all of the landmarks there of the pentagram. We got spirit way up at the top, and then we've got in the same order as if we would project this pentagram on the wheel of the zodiac, using our cherubic, or the fixed signs of the zodiac: Leo fire, Scorpio water, Aquarius air, and Taurus the bull, whose eyes got separated from the rest of his head there in my homemade illustration. And so those are the coordinates: spirit at top, fire at the lower right, water at the upper right, air at the upper left, and earth at the lower left. And in order to draw particular elemental pentagrams, and if we'll, here's on the inside here, there would be the air, and the invoking ones there are to the left. So you'd draw your arrow toward the air, Aquarius thing, or against it to banish air. Now, it just so happens that you draw the same ones, and only in reverse order, to invoke and banish water. That's just how it works out. And so to invoke fire, you'd start at the top and draw your arrow toward the fire corner. Or to banish, you'd start at the fire corner and start drawing your pentagram away from it. Now look what on all of these banishing and invoking pentagrams of the earth, water, fire, and air, we've missed, we've avoided crossing the crotch of the pentagram. That crotch of the pentagram, notice on my illustration here, even though that got spirit happening right there, I've got sort of a spirit that's being activated or exploded there. And the reason I've done that is that we can figure out the method to the madness of invoking or banishing those four elements. Okay, only a couple of minutes with this chart will show you the method to that madness. And it's really easy to memorize that, because if you just sort of picture the tarot card, the universe, or the Wheel of Fortune, and just go toward the animals, okay? The cherubic animals. But if you would, in meditation, just imagine this for a second, And then actually do it if you feel like it. Lay down when you're meditating and you're sitting on the floor. Lay down on your back on the floor and sort of spread eagle yourself and form a pentagram. Your head's at the top, and then your arms create the air and the water, and your legs or your feet would create the earth and the fire. Okay. Now, if you do an exercise, which I do recommend as you're starting to master your pentagram rituals, do an exercise where you, in your imagination, as you're to get used to invoking the elements by literally imagining like lightning going from your left hand to your right hand, and then down across, and then go up to there, and then down to there, and then, in other words, start moving the current, the electricity, from arm to arm, and down to the foot, and up and up. Okay. And get used to being aware of your body's response to drawing the current in these various ways. Okay? And you'll eventually become sensitive to the particular response that your body, or the electric field even of your body, has as you're moving those energies. Okay, I'm invoking air. Okay, I'm invoking water, and after a while, you become very, very attuned to those the currents. And then when you actually, in a ritual ceremony, when you actually draw those pentagrams with your wand or sword, draw them in the air, you're actually master of that current. You're actually plugging your magical magician hood into that pentagram. That being said, all of those exercises that you do, to do the air one, invoke and banish, to do the fire and the water and the earth one, all of those exercises have avoided moving from one foot to the opposite arm. And to do that, let's see if I got it. To do that, to move from one foot to the opposite arm, you have to cross your Muladhara chakra. You have to, your root chakra. You have to run that electricity directly into your naughty bits. Okay. And once you've gotten used to running all of these elemental currents, and then you move up to the process or the practice of moving from foot to opposite arm, your head explodes, okay? The first time you try that, once you've gotten used to running those currents, that makes you go boing. Okay. In other words, when you move from one foot to the opposite thing, as it crosses your Muladhara chakra, or your lowest one, your highest one explodes. If you don't believe me, try it. And that shows an intimate connection, look at it Kabbalistically, with your Malkuth and your Kether. Malkuth is in Kether, as Kether is in Malkuth, only after a different manner. As above, so below. So, with the greater ritual of the pentagram, yes, you invoke the elements. But before you invoke the elements, you blast open the dimension where those elements are fully activated, and that is spirit. In the greater ritual of the pentagram, you draw 2 pentagrams for each quarter. So, in the, let's see how, you draw a spirit active for the active quarters of fire and air, south and east, and you draw a passive spirit pentagram for the passive quarters, earth and water, of north and west. So, keeping that in mind, you start the greater pentagram ritual as you do a regular pentagram ritual, by affirming that you're a tree of life. Ata, Aiwas, Malkuth, Vigibura, Vigidula, La Aolam Aum. Okay. Then, instead of marching to the east and immediately drawing a invoking pentagram of air, you would draw the pentagram, invoking pentagram of spirit active. And it has its own divine name too. And that divine name is Eheya, or Eheya. Okay. So you move in the east, make the invoking equilibrated active pentagram of spirit. And I've drawn it right there. Okay. And then you say the divine word Eheya, and you give a special sign for the spirit pentagram. And that there's several ways you can do this, but the active is literally spreading out, the sign of the opening of the veil. Now, a lot of people, and it's a very logical way, they do the active passive. They do both of them. Actually, I like to do the active in the active quarters and the passive in the passive quarters. So, the move to the east, draw your equilibrated active pentagram of spirit, say Eheya, make the opening of the veil. Okay, then you draw your invoking pentagram. And in this case, I've drawn it incorrectly. But then you draw the specific pentagram of the element that you're working for. And in that case, it would be an invoking pentagram of air, where you'd move from like that. Does that make sense? And in the passive quarters, you draw the passive pentagram, going from passive quarter to other passive quarter, earth to air. Make your head explode, giving you the power and authority of an exploded head so that you can draw a proper water or earth pentagram. And the divine name for the spirit pentagram passive is Agla. And then you draw your elemental pentagram along with its divine name, just like in a lesser pentagram ritual. I'm sure I've confused you, and I'm confused myself with my with my handout. Handouts are meant to be helpful. Okay. That's what makes the greater pentagram ritual a greater ritual. You actually access in a more universal way. You enter a greater elemental dimension when you go in and first blast forth either activeness or passiveness. You've energized it. A greater pentagram ritual is literally a lesser pentagram ritual on steroids. And if you get nothing else out of this little talk, it is to remember that I'm encouraging you. If you want to be a master of the pentagram, or at least more of a master of the pentagram, practice the meditation of running the elemental energies through your own body by turning yourself into a pentagram on the floor and running those currents at first in your imagination. Then start accompanying it with a breathing. You pull with an inhalation when you complete the pentagram, and exhalation. So that's it for today. Sorry I started a little bit late. I was working on these flawed handouts. And once I get them perfected, I'll post them and you can print out your little booklet yourself. So until tomorrow, continue to be good to yourself, be good to each other. Do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law. Love is the law, love under will.